Alright, it's time for another Patron Top 10 video. Let's discuss my top 10 favorite horror endings. This will be spoiler filled because it's top 10 horror endings. I'm going to describe these endings, and if it's a movie you haven't seen, you should fast forward because I don't want to spoil it for you. So you have been warned, I will be spoiling these endings when I talk about them. So these are my top 10 plus a few honorable mentions, and there's a lot to choose from. So some very famous, very iconic endings did not make the list. There's just too many to choose from, and I just chose the ones that stood out to me when looking at my collection. So let's jump right into my 5 honorable mentions. Friday the 13th. I think we all know this one. Jason jumping out of the water, Alice waking up in the hospital and saying, but he's still there, and we cut back to the lake. Just a great eerie ending, and I love it. It's one of the best endings in the franchise, next to part 4, Jason's demise. But yeah, so it's not always the last shot when I say top 10 horror endings. It's just the way the movie ends. It's not really the last second, the last frame. It's just the ending. So just want to clear that up. Next honorable mention will be Martyrs. Bit of a head scratcher. I'm not sure exactly what it means. It's a really, really hard movie to watch, but that ending where the chick who's in control, she's like the main lady behind this organization, and she finds out this answer to the big question, is there life after death? She gets this answer. We don't ever get to hear the answer, uh, but she knows it, and whatever the answer was, it causes her to blow her brains out, and she says, keep doubting. And Saint Maud, a more recent film, just a very eerie ending where you get this just very haunting shot at the very, very end. Just the last frame of this movie is fantastic. Another honorable mention will be James Wan's Dead Silence. Has one of my favorite twists where we find out that the main character's father was dead the whole time. He was just a puppet being controlled, and the other chick was Mary Shaw the whole time. So it's one of the best twists in the 2000s, and it doesn't get enough talk, so I had to bring it up. Dead Silence, second to last honorable mention, but my last honorable mention will be I Saw the Devil, which some people might not consider to be a horror film, but I think it is. It has plenty of horror elements in it. It's a revenge tale also, and just the way this movie ends with that confrontation between the main character and this piece of shit who is basically the devil. He's just so evil. He has him hooked up to this guillotine. It chops his head off. And then the main character walking down the road just finally has a moment to cry about the death of his wife and about how he's become a monster since, what this devil character did to him, how he's turned one monster turned him into a monster. And it's just such a great ending and a fantastic film, phenomenal film. You gotta check it out. I Saw the Devil. That's my last honorable mention. So now getting into my top 10. 10 will be Maniac, the original and the remake, because it's almost the same exact ending. But in the remake, I think I prefer this one because the fact that when they tear his face off, he's a mannequin underneath, and the music that's playing, the score in the remake, and it's revealed that he just stabbed himself in the closet. But it's just a fantastic fucking ending. It's gory as hell. The effects are amazing. The score is absolutely phenomenal. It's a perfect film to me. I love the remake. I prefer over the original. You can call that blasphemy all you want. I don't care. I just think it's top notch. Number 9 will go to a very odd film that just shocked the hell out of me at the end. It's such a downer, dark ending, and that's Excision. This is a character study film. We're just following this crazy delusional chick who wants to be a surgeon, and by the end of the movie, her sister, who has some lung disease, she tries to perform a surgery to save her sister and ends up just killing her very brutally, just a very terrible surgery, just ripping her lungs out and ripping the neighbor girl's lungs out, and they're just both dead in her garage. The mom comes home, finds this mess there, and just starts screaming and crying in her daughter's face, like, what the fuck did you do? It's such an emotional, dark, fantastic ending, and that's why it made my list. Number 9, Excision. Number 8 will go to Ready or Not, a more recent horror comedy by the guys who did Scream 5. And what I love about this ending was not knowing at first if it was true. Like, are they going to die and how are they going to die? Are they all going to just light up on fire, incinerate, or just blow up? And then you don't know if it's true or not. And they're all like starting to giggle, like, oh, I guess it's not true. We're safe. We've been doing this shit for years for no reason. We never had to. And then boom, they all just start blowing up one at a time. All their bodies just blowing up in front of Samara. And then she just starts laughing and says, I'm divorcing you, and throws the ring back at the guy. Walks out the burning mansion, just lights a cigarette. Fantastic ending. And so, yeah, Ready or Not, number 8. Number 7 goes to another James Wan film, and that is the original Saw. Game over. Just a great twist that was staring at you the whole time. The guy in the room was the bad guy the whole time. They didn't know that that was John Kramer. He was Jigsaw, and he was just having a front row seat to the game, just watching them, listening to them the entire time. They just thought he was a dead body. And then he just stands up, says the iconic line, "Game over," and we hear poor Adam screaming and crying as the credits roll. Number 6 will go to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I can even throw the new one in here as well because I just think that's a phenomenal ending, the best one in the franchise since the original. But the original did it first. You got Leatherface in the street just waving the chainsaw around, doing the dance. The way the sun's in the background's a cool shot. And Sally's just screaming her head off, and just everything that led up to that, the insanity in the previous 15 minutes leading up to that was fantastic as well. It's just this nonstop insanity, crazy roller coaster ride all the way to the end credits. And it just ends on that crazy note, and it's just one of the more memorable endings in horror history. Number 5 goes to The Collection, the sequel to The Collector. This has a fist-pumping ending where the main character, Arkin, I want to say is his name, he captures the bad guy at the very end, and he promises to deliver all kinds of torture and pain, to inflict so much pain on him that he did to him, like payback, like everything you did to me, every cut, every bruise you gave me, I'm doing it right back to you. And then pushes him into this chest, this big ass chest, and locks him up, throws him into the back of the truck, and drives off with him. We were gonna get a third one, and they were probably going to retcon that ending, but this ending, the way it is now, love it, very satisfying. The good guy wins, the bad guy gets tortured. Number 4 will go to Halloween 3, my favorite sequel in this franchise. You got Tom Atkins in it, which is always a plus, and I just love the way it ends, ambiguous, like you don't know what exactly the outcome was of that night. Did he save the world, or did all the kids in the world have their heads melted? Who knows? Number 3 goes to a movie that's on this list because of just how out of nowhere and shocking the ending is, and that is Pieces. This movie is not to be taken seriously. It is cheesy and dumb as hell, gory, and just has all kinds of nudity. It's a fun slasher, giallo-like film from the early 80s that I highly recommend, but the ending is fucking weird. All of a sudden, this movie that wasn't supernatural ever, at the very end, this body that's all kinds of different people's limbs sewn together, this killer took people's arms, legs, torso, head, sewed them all together to make this Frankenstein monster, like he's trying to recreate his mom, I think, or something. But then all of a sudden, this thing just comes to life and grabs the main dude by the balls and dick and just rips it off at the very end, and that's how it ends. What came out of nowhere, and that's why I love it. It's kind of similar to May in a way. Number 2, we'll go to Sleepaway Camp, where we find out at the very end that Angela, the main shy girl, is actually a boy, and she's been forced by her crazy aunt to pretend to be a girl because the aunt always wanted to have a daughter, but all she had was Ricky. And so I guess this fucks with her mind. She's going crazy because of it, because she has a dick and she's pretending to be the opposite sex. That's what makes her go crazy and start killing randomly at this camp. You think at first it's because she's being bullied, but I guess that has nothing to do with it. It's just because she has a dick. That's why she's killing people. I don't know. But yeah, it's just a random ending that honestly you didn't really need it, but I'm glad it's here. Like the bullying thing was a good enough motive. That's why she's killing all these pieces of shits at this camp, you know? But then they just throw this in there at the last second, like, oh shit, so that's why she's killing them? Because she's got a dick? I don't know. It's a crazy ending. And then what makes it extra memorable and weird is the fact that it freeze frames and then it turns green. They change the color of the filter. It just fades to green for some reason. Such a random creative choice by the director, and it just makes it stand out even more. Without this ending, I don't think this movie would have the cult status that it has today. Number one goes to a movie that just has the most downer gut punch ending of all time, and that's why I love it so much, and that is The Mist. Stephen King's The Mist. I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but I will always remember the ending where the Punisher guy, forget his name, but he murders his own son, this other chick, and these two old people, trying to give them a quicker death so that they won't have to get eaten alive by all these monsters. You know, he's doing, in his mind, a good thing because he hears monsters in the distance, so he thinks he shoots everybody, and there's no more bullets left to shoot himself. And then all of a sudden, he finds out that it wasn't monsters that he heard coming. It was like the army or the National Guard or whoever. And they were coming to save the day. If he just waited like an extra minute, his son would still be alive. They would have been saved. But he, jumped the gun. He pulled the trigger too early and killed them for no reason. And then he just has to sit there and think about that and start screaming and crying as the army is just walking by him, ignoring him, killing all the monsters in the distance. What a awesome ending. Such a gut punch. Awesome. I don't think that was in the book, right? That was like the director's choice. Awesome way to end it. Very just emotional and risky and just amazing. I love it. It's one of my favorite horror endings of all time, and that's why it's my number one. When I thought of this list, The Mist came to my mind instantly. I was like, that has to be number one. So The Mist, number one. What is your top 10 horror endings? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's all an opinion. You don't need to get upset about it.